Shalom Aleichem, this is Rabbi Kovacs, and the Mishnah Yomi is continuing in our second day of learning Pesachim. We are in chapter 1, Mishnah Gimel. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, Bodkin or Arba Asar. We check at nightfall on the 14th of Nisan. Uve Arba Asar Shacharit. And the morning of the 14th, that's the following morning, Ubishat Biur, and at the time of the nullification of the hametz. Now, the Bartner explains he doesn't mean you check all 3 times. What he means is that someone who didn't check on the nightfall on the 14th of Nisan, as we learned in Mishnah Aleph, then he's got to check the next morning. And if he didn't check that next morning, he needs to check right before noontime, which, as we're going to see, is when hametz becomes biblically forbidden on erev Pesach. And Rabbi Yehuda holds, we're going to see by comparison that what Rabbi Yehuda actually holds is if he didn't check by noontime, before noontime on erev Pesach, he should not go looking for hametz, because if he goes looking for hametz at that time and finds a delicious-looking cookie and eats it, he has a very significant problem in his hands. The Mishkatezu Chachamim Omrim, and the other sages, they say, not like Rabbi Yehuda, they say, Lo vadak or barisar. If he didn't check at nightfall on the 14th, that's 24 hours before the Pesach Seder, Yivdok bar basar, he should check during the day on the 14th. Lo badak bar basar, if he didn't check that whole day, Yivdok b'toich hamoed, he can go checking during the holiday, really during Chol HaMoed. Here the Bartner says Moed is used in, it's really actually erev Pesach. It's afternoon on the 14th. It's B'shah Shishit, it's after the 6th hour. Shem Moed Bior is the time. Moed means not just holiday, but the time, the appointed time of Bior, of nullifying the chametz. So Rabbi Yehuda said, Dafka, don't check at that time, because he might eat chametz. The sages say, go ahead and do check. And they continue, Lo vadak b'toch hamod. If he didn't check then, Yivduch achar mod. He could check even after, even during the holiday, and even after the festival is over. And the reason for checking even after Pesach is over is because you have to know if he had chametz in his possession that was not sold and not destroyed, then it becomes forbidden to use after the holiday. We actually see this, Lamaisa, certain stores and distributors, commercial stores, grocery stores, there are issues with buying chametz from them right after Pesach because that warehouse or that store might have been owned by a Jewish owner, and then this might have been chametz that was owned by a Jew on Pesach, which we cannot use. And the Mishnah concludes, of Masha Meshayir, what he leaves over, Yenechenu B'tzina, put it in a private place, meaning a closed-up, secure location where no weasels are getting in and out. So you don't have to check again. Now, this what we're leaving over means, that last bagel. What people do is they do the bedika on the night of the 14th or that morning, and they leave over what they're going to eat for breakfast or their brunch or whatever it is before the time the chametz becomes forbidden. So if you're leaving something over, that one last bagel, you better make sure you lock it up where no small children or weasels or cookie monsters are going to get to it. Let's go on to Mishnah Daled, continuing about erev Pesach. Rabbi Meir Omer Ochlin Kol Chamesh Sorfim Tchilas Sheish. We may eat chametz through the 5th hour of the day, and we burn it at the beginning of the 6th hour. So what Rabbi Meir is saying here is that even though on a biblical level, a deraisa level, hametz becomes forbidden midday on erev Pesach, which then begins the time of bringing the carbon Pesach, as we're going to see later in the Masechta. Rabbinically, we add an hour because sundials are not exact. People don't always synchronize watches. So as a concern, we need to have people stop eating chametz well before the time that they're biblically prohibited from eating chametz, lest they make a mistake. So then Rabbi Meir says right after that time, at the beginning of the 6th hour of the day, we'd go ahead and burn the leftover chametz. So what we're going to see on Wednesday, April 5th, Ha'ba'aleinu L'tava, hopefully we'll be in Yerushalayim, hopefully we'll be with a rebuilt temple, with a vast multitude of Yidden, Jews coming to bring their carbon Pesach in the temple, God willing. And even if we are still in Baltimore, then what we're going to see is we're going to be eating chametz up until about 10:30, 11, depending if you hold by Magen Avraham or by the Gra, about 10:30, 11, and then we're going to be burning the chametz by 12:05, according to the Gra, a little earlier, according to Magen Avraham. So we'll see that we actually hold the halacha like Rabbi Yehuda. The Bartner says here we hold like Rabbi Yehuda, that we eat up to and including the 4th hour, and then we burn it by the beginning of the 6th hour. So we have that sort of hour where it's usher to eat it, but you don't have to burn it yet. But, where people are making their bonfire, their preparations to discard their chametz. And of course, April 5th, we're going to consult the calendar for your exact time, ask your poseg, your rebbe, for the exact time that you can eat your last Cheerios, your last bagel, and then what time you need to burn your hametz. Yashar kohachem, be well.